Howdy folks, how are you? We started out, we set out today, and the goal was to, make a video on post-election events, social media, people's opinions, ideas, thoughts on the election, on the political sphere, on things that they think are going to happen. But in the process, we, of course, I always try to sweeten the pot for the kids, you know. I realize some of the videos can be less than stimulating for them, you know, even though they're in a lot of them. It's kind of like, yeah, hit or miss. So to sweeten the pot, so to speak, I try to make sure I stop at McDonald's and get, you know, Cokes and some burgers and
and it makes it yummy.
What are those things you guys? Oh, the McChickens. The McChickens. Yeah, they like the McChickens. So I get them each a couple of those, and Blueberry, he's back there eating them. But anyhow, as we're sitting here, before we even started recording, we're just kind of BSing back and forth and talking and eating, and we got to talking about the sandwiches or the burgers that we're eating from McDonald's. And Olivia had mentioned that somebody had told her that McDonald's food isn't good for you because it lasts for a long time, right? Isn't that what?
Yes, the story that the person had told me was that a lady had McDonald's, actually, burgers and fries and whatnot. She had them on her back porch for like 4 years, and they never molded, they never rotted, and they were still considered good to eat. So this person said that I should not eat them because they're not real food.
Based solely on the fact that they had a very long shelf life.
Mm-hmm.
That it lasted for a very long time, right? And as we're talking about that brought to mind for me a story about a log chain. How log chains are very, very tough. You know, they're for logging, for hauling trees, and they're very durable. And but that same log chain, if left out in the weather in the rain, you know, or even if it's dunked in a pond or something like that in water, that same very durable, tough log chain will rust and degrade and deteriorate over time. So, according to that logic, I should not drink water because look what it did to the log chain, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's not the same metric, you know. It's not the same scale. So I think a story more similar to the cheeseburger story would be, say, canned food, right?
Mm-hmm.
Canned food, canned carrots are very healthy. Carrots are very good for you. Canned carrots have a very long shelf life. They last for years, right?
Years and years, yeah.
So I don't think that just because something has a long shelf life that it's necessarily bad. I'm not saying that McDonald's food is healthy. I mean, it's long been touted that McDonald's food is not healthy, that it's unhealthy, it's not good for you, but
it's not the long shelf life that makes it unhealthy.
I don't know what it is. Yeah, I mean, there's some people say red meats are bad for you, you know, like beef, you know, stuff like that. It's high in cholesterol, it's high in fat. For me, it's moderation. Everything in moderation, some things not at all. You know, I think it was my grandfather that used to say that. My dad's would be my great grandfather. My dad's dad. He said that. I think it was my great granddad that said that. Everything in moderation, some things not at all. But I mean, cheeseburgers are healthier than crack, right?
Yeah.
It seems one of the metrics in society is always comparing everything to drugs. You know, they'll say sugar is 10 times more addictive than cocaine. Well, why are we comparing it to cocaine? How many kids are sprinkling cocaine on their breakfast in the morning, you know? But anyhow, I digress. I thought that was a neat conversation, neat topic, you know, about shelf life of food. But
yes.
On to the political sphere. Something I think is very interesting is the Trump supporters were criticizing the activities of the liberal side of things, with the things they were doing. For example, stepping on flags and taking a knee and all this and all that, criticizing how they're not patriotic because they were saying that Trump wasn't their president. But now the Trump supporters, after losing the election, are doing the exact same thing
The liberals
that they were criticizing the liberals for doing. It's like, what? Come on, So it's like, how can you? It's very hypocritical in nature. It's I don't know. I just thought that very interesting. I mean, it wasn't a day after it was determined that Biden had won the race that I see Facebook posts of people stepping on, Biden and Kamala Harris, whatever her name is.
Who's Kamala Harris?
The VP, stepping on flags with their names on them. It's like, come on. And I talked to somebody too. Go ahead.
It's like you're disrespecting your own name when you're doing that.
Well, their president. Yeah, they're disrespecting the president-elect. I guess it wouldn't be. I wouldn't call it a president-elect. Well, actually, he did. I guess. See, I say that with Trump. He didn't win the election. He was selected because Trump didn't win the popular vote. He wasn't. If you're elected, that means the people elected you. He wasn't elected. He didn't win the popular vote. He was selected by the Electoral College, right? Biden, on the other hand, did. He was actually elected and selected. So
he won the popular and electoral vote.
Right. Shucks, my train jumped the track. I was going to say something before you talked, and I can't remember now what it was.
Before that, you were talking about Kamala Harris and stepping on flags.
How she stepped on her own flag.
I was going somewhere with that, and I can't remember where. Oh, yeah, I remember. The whole Trump train thing. Excuse me. There was a bunch of rallies just prior to the election, and there were Trump trains. There was a bunch of people would get together, and they had flags and banners and blowing their horns and being quite loud and obnoxious. And I mean, it is what it is. It's if you want to do that, that's fine. But in my mind, that is the opposite of a conservative. A conservative is somebody that's primarily kept to themselves. They're not meek really, but they're kind of not outspoken. They're conservative. They don't yell and scream in the street and jump up and down, and that's the opposite of conservative. So the Trump trains, I think, were. I was talking to somebody else about that on Facebook too. I think the Trump trains or the rallies that were just before the election were very detrimental, were very negative for Trump's campaign. They were obnoxious, they were loud, and I think a lot of people didn't like that.
People don't like obnoxious and loud, except for the people that were being obnoxious and loud.
Right, and that's not the majority.
And they know that if Trump is still in office, then that's going to keep happening and keep happening. So they didn't want Trump in office.
Right.
We have a Trump train go past our house a couple of weeks ago.
A couple of them, yep. And
wasn't there like 3?
Yeah.
There was a few. I don't remember exactly how many, but there's a few. But yeah, I don't think the Trump trains were beneficial to his. In a lot of the people that were or are Trump supporters are all about term limits too, right? Oh, we gotta keep term limit, but at the same time, when it's their guy, term limits aren't even spoke of. They're like, hey, we need to keep reelecting and reelecting. We want him, and then his son, and then his grandson. It's like, wait a second. Just a minute ago, you were talking about term limits. So you want term limits, just not for your guy, right? You see, the whole thing is hypocritical, and it's, I don't know, if you just spit on me.
No, just open the mouth.
Don't open your mouth. Keep your mouth closed.
And have we said how Trump is refusing to leave office?
Well, he's talked on that. I mean, he's gotten, I don't know, I think it's like January 15th or something like that. Because there's a whole transition of power. They have to get Biden sworn in, and then, you know, it's a process, you know, just like everything in politics or government. There's a process there. It's not boom
one
minute.
hand on the Bible, or is it the Constitution or the Bible?
It's supposed to be the Bible. It can be any
One
book
hand
though,
on the
really.
Bible, the other in the air. I actually think it goes like this: left hand in the air, or is it left hand on the Bible?
I'm not sure. I don't know. Have to look it up. When swearing in, which hand do you... And then there was... Somebody said something... I don't know how much truth there is to it about Obama swearing in on the Quran.
Huh?
Yeah. I don't know. I didn't look
What's
into
the
it.
Quran?
It's like an Islamic Bible. It's not the Holy Bible, or the Bible that we're used to. But, yeah, I don't know. If you watch any of my videos and know anything about my political stance, I'm an anarchist. No rules, you know, the scruffy beard, tie-dye shirt, you know. I don't want to call myself a hippie, but no rules. Whatever is comfortable, whatever you like, as long as you're not infringing on somebody else's rights and
As long as you're not
telling them...
hurting anyone.
Right, as long as you're not hurting them, or, you know, do whatever you want as long as you're not hurting anybody else or stealing their shit, right?
Alright.
And that's voting is like the opposite of that. Even,
I want to talk about something.
hurry, get it.
So, recently, someone has said to me, and I've also heard this from you, if you don't vote, you have no right to complain.
That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever
think
heard.
that is so kooked.
Yeah, I don't agree with that at all. It's
If you do vote, then you have no right to complain because you're still playing the lottery on the presidency. But if you do vote, or if you don't vote, then you didn't play the lottery. They just took your money.
right.
Yeah, then you have a right to complain because it's like a lottery machine. Like when you do vote, you're playing the lottery and you get the ticket, and if you lose,
You lose.
you can't complain because that's what you wanted. But if you don't,
Well, you knew it's not what you wanted. It was a possibility.
still.
It's a gamble, right?
So you're willing
You
to-
might win, you might lose.
Yeah.
Same with voting. You might win, you might lose. Either way, you don't get to complain. I mean, if you buy a lottery ticket and you lose, you don't get to take it back to the retailer and complain, right?
No.
You knew that was an option. You knew that was a possibility.
But
And that's why you can't vote on freedom. I've said that before. You can't vote on it, right? Because losing freedom, to me, is not an option. It's not something I'm willing to gamble with, right? If you vote, you're gambling. And if you're voting for freedom, that means there is somebody that's running opposed to freedom, right? Otherwise, there wouldn't be an election, right? There wouldn't be a debate,
there would just be freedom.
right?
Anyways, as I was saying,
I like to
But it-
compare voting to rape. I think you've heard me say that, use that analogy before.
Yep.
Some people say if you don't vote, you don't have a right to complain. To me, voting is like choosing a rapist, right? You often hear the lesser of two evils. To me, it's like choosing a rapist. If I don't choose a rapist, then I have no right to complain about being raped. That doesn't make sense. I don't want to be raped. You know, I don't want government. I don't want to be raped. I don't want government. I don't know how to make that any clearer, you know? I don't want any government at all.
I think my favorite analogy is the lottery one.
The lottery one, yeah.
It's like
It makes sense. It does. It makes good sense. Bub.
It's like by gambling, you're willing to take the chance and accepting the other side that you might not get what you want.
Right, that's the whole premise behind gambling. You might win, you might not. And just like gambling, the odds are always stacked in the house's favor. In politics, the odds are always stacked in the government's favor. They're never going to let you vote on important key topics. It's not an option for them. They won't let you. Voting makes no difference at all. None. When you vote, you're essentially giving consent to be governed. But that's just my humble opinion. I'm gonna end this video. We're getting kind of long. Peace.
Love.
Happiness.